So talk to me about the archetypes. What are they and how are they connected to beliefs?
The archetypes, the name archetypes goes back to the days of Plato, so it's not new, and Jung popularised archetypes, of course. It's just another name for patterns or roles or behaviours that we all play. If I said, oh, that person's got a strong warrior archetype, you understand that they just seem to say, come and give me your battle, I'll fight it for you, because they somehow or other just attract a lot of battles into their life, be it physical or emotional or mental or whatever it is. But there's other archetypes that we don't necessarily understand and what they mean, like the scapegoat archetype is a really difficult archetype to live with if you choose to have that pattern or around you. The main archetypes, whereas if I was to mention the good boy or the good girl archetype, we all understand that because that's what we hear growing up. Good boy if you've cleaned your teeth well, good girl if you've, washed your hands. I'm guilty of saying that to my kids too when they were growing up, but I've never said it with my grandkids because I wasn't aware of the same things when my kids were little. But good boy and good girl set us up with labels about it's another way of conditional love where you'll only be loved if you are the good boy or the good girl. And we all play it as children because that's what we hear. But if you're still playing those roles in your 40s, 50s and 60s, good luck, because you've got no idea who you are. You're playing what still the childhood pattern was there. So there's 4 main archetypes that we all share. You, me, the Queen of England, Donald Trump, it wouldn't matter. Your parents, everyone shares these same 4 archetypes. The fact that you're born the child archetype arises within you, and there's many variations to the child. There's the wounded child, the spoiled child, something called the pure eternus, which is the Peter Pan syndrome of the child who never wants to grow up. The classic example of that was Michael Jackson, who had his childhood basically taken away from him because he was put on stage performing from 6 or 7 years of age or something, and you're always trying to get back there. The next archetype that arises is the victim, and that sounds a funny label, but the victim is that part of us that says, this isn't fair, it's your fault, you've done this to me, you have to fix it, or it's too hard, I can't possibly do this. There's a massive victim consciousness on the planet where we need to blame everyone else for where we're at. It's the government's fault, the school system's fault, the parents' fault, your partner's fault. It's massive and we're steeped in it, unfortunately. And within these archetypes of child and victim, and the other 2 I'm going to name, there's levels of awareness. So at the lower levels or the tribal level, it plays out in a certain way, but at the top or the higher level, the symbolic level, the full awake consciousness, it plays out differently again. So the victim is really strong on the planet right now. The next archetype that arises confuses people because it's called the prostitute. And it's not about a career change, as I say to people. The prostitute asks, what are you doing to sell yourself short? What are you doing to put yourself out of your integrity? And how that applies as children is, and this is all at the unconscious level, unfortunately, again, we take on board roles that are going to win us approval. So good boy, good girl is one of them, but it could be the pleaser, the rescuer, the healer. But those roles, if they're still calling the shots later on in life, then your belief systems will be creating your reality, and you'll just keep bringing in those roles to play out. So typically in adulthood, the prostitute would play out with females staying in relationships that no longer serve them, but for the fear of being on their own, losing the kudos of the relationship, what will other people think? The fear of starting anew, they'll stay there and sell themselves short for the material gains. And typically it plays out for a man staying in a job that he hates. But again, for similar reasons, I won't get another one. I'm getting a good salary. I've got the car. I've got the kudos. I'll stay there even though I hate it. Unfortunately, the prostitute archetype is very dangerous to our health. Well, so is the victim, but it can spell huge illnesses later on. And the last one is a given as the saboteur. So that comes up every time you go to make change. So it'll say, you sure? What if you fail? What if you make a mistake? What if it doesn't work out? and it clicks into your doubting mind and it will sow seeds of doubt. So those 4 are a given for all of us: child, victim, prostitute, saboteur, and then the other 8 can change.